G'day YouTube, my name's Lance. Welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, the weather report, 22 to 32, and apparently it's been pissing down rain. I just had a look at the Bureau of Meteorology app on my phone, and they reckon we had 53 mil in the last, up from 9 o'clock yesterday morning to 9 o'clock this morning, and it's only probably 7 o'clock now on Monday morning. So yeah, Jude said, I was away on my road trip, and yeah, Jude said it just poured. And up north of us, up Litterbella, where Nicole that works for us lives, they had 300 millimetres overnight on Friday. She couldn't come into work. And yeah, this rain depression, hello Sansa, this rain depression, yeah, it just went down the coast and it seemed to just stall everywhere. So we knew there was going to be a little bit of rain around, and I headed off Thursday morning early, yeah, probably 5 o'clock in the morning Thursday, to head down into New South Wales to go and pick up this gear that I'd arranged to have a look at it and buy on Saturday morning. So I was going to shoot down the coast and muck around, but the rain was starting to build a little bit, and I thought, oh, just to play it safe, I'll head west. So I ended up heading from here, I'm bloody muggy now, from here, then I went out through Kangaroo, Dalby, Miles, Gundawindi, Moree, and down that way. I wasn't going to go that way, but I ended up going that way. Just because of the wet and yeah, I had to get around it sort of thing, and I thought, oh, I'll just play it safe, you know, nice open roads and things like that, because they reckon it was going to be down south quicker than it was. So anyway, I ended up sort of Goulburn, Canberra way down there, roughly. So and the gear that I'd agreed to go down and have a look at and buy was off an old Massey Ferguson mechanic, and the fella's name was Bill Hare, and he spent his working life as a on-field mechanic, an on-farm mechanic for Massey Ferguson and other things. And look, same as I did. And like I was on the spanners 43 years, I think, when I chucked it in. And well, I just do it as a hobby now, just to keep myself going. And look, it would have been great to have a yarn to the old fella, but he's had a couple of health issues, and there's no chance of doing that anymore. But talking to his family, his son that I was dealing with it all, and yeah, the stuff that the old fella done is the stuff I did for years. So I would have loved to have a yarn and just to catch up, and we would have had so much in common. But anyway, not to be, sadly. I've just been for a walk around the ute with the camera before I unload, and I took some spare money with me, and good job I did. He had some beautiful old gear there, and we'll probably cover that a little bit later. Well, the kookaburras are having a big sing-along out the front here at the moment. But yeah, so I got down there, and Saturday morning at about 20 past 7, we'd arranged to meet up there, and went in under the house and started sorting and dealing, and yeah, I'll have this and load that up, and with the workshop manuals I bought the job lot, the whole Massey Ferguson piles. Like, there was the piles that were probably a metre high, and there's 3 or 4 of those, yeah, plus other stuff. So we'd agreed on that, and we'd agreed on a flow meter test kit setup, but he had a second flow meter test kit set up that his dad had, and so that's in my ute as well. The Sparex compression tester that I use here, I did have better stuff, but yeah, as you all know, I sold my workshop, and so I let a lot of the gear go. And one of those things, you've got to sell it with the business to make your business profitable. Yeah, you look back and you think, oh, well, that'd be handy now. So anyway, there's a beautiful compression test gauge I got. It's got 1966 written on it, but look, it looks like brand new. And so then he's walking around. He says, "What else can I tempt you with, Lance?" And I said, "Oh, have a go." So I got a bit of stuff I'll probably show you later on, and I was just about, we're just getting packed up and buggering around, and he said, "I couldn't interest you in a magneto magnetizer, could I?" And I said, "Oh, you can interest me in anything." So off he goes and pulls it out of a box, and he says, "Oh, this works like a beauty." He's done up some, he's tested it on his magnetos and that, because the old fella had a heap of magnetos he was selling as well. And and he'd tidied it up. It's got a nice cast iron base, and the windings are fairly large on it, but it's a 60 amp draw for charging magnetos. So we've done a deal. I said, "Yep." He said, "Load her in." And there's one thing I'm quite excited about. His old man, Billy, if he valued a tool, you could see he'd made a box for it. He'd wrapped it in rag inside the box, and really looked after his gear. And Jason said to me, he says, "Oh, you want you interested in a injection tester?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I am." So I had a look, and look, it's just a cracker, it's in my ute. A few extra knickknacks and bits and pieces. There's another flow meter, like I said, another flow meter test kit. But look, this morning on Monday, I've got to get it all out of the ute. I'm going to try and put it in piles if I can. There's a lot of stuff on combines and headers and balers, which is not my particular thing. We may let some of that go later on. And I was up front with him. He said, "What are you going to do with all this stuff?" And I said, "Well, I'll keep what's I can use, and what I think someone else can use we'll put out there." And I said, "I'll sell it on." And he said, "Oh, that's all right." But I hate getting stuff and saying, "Oh, I'll put it in my collection," then some bugger sells it and you think, "You bastard." So we're all up front about that. It's all good. So far I've found a couple of interesting gems. We didn't have time to go through every manual as we loaded them. So we got the test gear in the front, all the heavy stuff up the front of the ute. And then I said, "Right, let's go." And we just loaded the manuals. And the whole back of the ute is manuals about 400 high, 400 mils high, the whole 1.8 metres by 1.8 metres. And plus a bit of test gear in the front and things like that. So anyway, while I was away, all hell broke loose with that rain depression. And Saturday evening, I was doing a check-in with Jude, and she said, "I think you better stay there a couple of nights." And I said, "Yeah." But I said, "What are we going to do?" I said, I was in Narrabri at that time. And because once again, I was going to weave up past, I was going to come up past Brendamere where the Fergie thing is and up through Warwick, but all the roads got blocked. And talking to the truckies on the UHF, and a lot of the roads that I would normally travel on just flooded and buggered me dead out. Gundawindi got 200 millimetres in a few hours. So that was my road home through Gundawindi, through Mooney and the Mooney-Dolby Highway, but that was cut. And it was cut between Gundawindi and Mooney, and I couldn't get from Moree to Boggabilla. The road was over, there was trucks parked everywhere. And if I did get to Dolby, then I had to come through Kangaroo, but Krebs Bridge, all the bits that got washed out a month ago, they're all washed again. The creeks were flowing, and like the truckies were saying, it was probably be Tuesday, Wednesday this week before the test gear gets in to test the bridges and all that. So so I was sitting there in my room thinking, "Oh, well, what do I do? Do I stay in Narrabri and just go to the pub for Sunday? Or which way do I head?" And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, "Oh, well, water from the western side of the range has to go that way." And I knew that there's no use going anywhere near the coast. Everything was blocked up at the coast. Anything north of Brisbane, the highway was blocked at Gympie. The highway was blocked north of Gingin, but I got through there last night, it had cleared. The Lowmead Road that we normally come in was blocked. So I worked out a little plan, but then 2 in the morning I woke up and I thought about my little plan, and I got my laptop going and I got my screens and my phone, and I was on the New South Wales road apps and the Queensland government app to work out which roads were open. So I made a little plan to go from Narrabri out to Walgett, and I did that at about 4 in the morning, I suppose. And those ARB spotlights, man, are they a good thing. But the headlights on the Land Cruiser, after having the spotties going, are pretty piss poor, so I'm going to upgrade them. And so yeah, I made it from Narrabri to Walgett, then up to Lightning Ridge, Dirranbandy, Thallon, St George, Surat, Roma. And when I got to Roma, I pulled up and I fired all my gear up again, because there was a chance I could go to Miles, then head up towards Theodore Way and come out at Banana Billawheeler and come back down in. But yeah, the highway was over between Roma and Miles in 2 places, and then if I did find a back road through, the back road that I would have taken, it was over as well. So I thought, bugger it, keep going. So I ended up going up through Injune, Rollston, then come back in through Mara, Banana, Billawheeler, Calliope, near Gladstone there. Then, because the back roads were still blocked, but the highway from Gladstone to Gingin was clear, well, I could come in through there, and that's how I got home. So I started at 4 in the morning and got home about 8 o'clock last night, roughly, give or take. A couple of tanks of juice and a couple of feeds and a couple of coffees, and we were home. So, and I just thought, well, I felt, you know, a big day drive, and that was fine. Look, it's probably 15, 16, yeah, look, I'm not sure how many kilometres. I didn't take much note really, but the whole trip, she's got some Ks on her anyway. The ute performed like a cracker. It's, look, so I'd want to too, I suppose, but look, I was glad. Oh, bloody, I was coming in through the back of Coonabarabran, and Google said the quickest way is go through here and a few back roads. And I'd done a few back roads getting down there, and they were quite windy up through ranges and down, but I was empty and it didn't matter. But coming home with the weight on, I didn't want to be, you know, braking, taking off, braking. I wanted a more open highway run. So anyway, it sent me down this road, and it signed up nicely and everything, and you know, this is the way to so and so. So off I goes down there. It was 27 kilometres, and I got bloody down there, and it says, "Oh, gravel road ahead," and I thought, "Oh, well, not to worry." But it had been pissing down rain, hadn't it? And I had 10 kilometres of bloody this slippery shit mud, and anyway, I didn't know how long it lasts, but anyway, so I locked my hubs in 4-wheel drive, but I left my tyres up because, yeah, just the load I was carrying, I didn't want it wallowing around. Well, if I stayed on the centre of the road, it was all right, but at 20 kilometres an hour, sometimes I was sort of sideways trying to slide off, and I thought, what's the bloke doing in this shit? And but yeah, and I reckon on my GPS I just had bitumen roads, but I haven't checked that since. You know, when we go camping and that, I take the bitumen roads off and put any type road will do fine. But yeah, I was just creeping along 20 kilometres, and that was 10 kilometres, and you couldn't turn around, and you could, and where you were sitting on the top of the road, you were leaving wheel tracks like, you know, inch or two deep. So I was a slippery bastard of a thing. And anyway, eventually I come onto bitumen again, and away we went, pressed the one near the door, and off we went again. But yeah, it slowed me up a little bit. I was thinking, oh, Lee, this isn't good. But and that was, I pulled up at Narrabri because yeah, I was getting messages about the road blocked north of Moree, and if I went right up to Moree, well, all the truckies, people, you know, the motels get full quickly when you can't go any further. So anyway, so it was a good trip, but worked out well. Some of the gear I got, I'm pleased to have. I'm going to try and get it set up somewhere for a bit of a show and tell shortly, and see how we go. Through the week, I picked up a I can't think of what they call this. It's a chuck from, here we go, the Flexi chuck. The Flexi chuck from Eccentric Engineering. And it's a chuck that I can put the pins for D1-4 on the back here, and it's got a little tit that comes out the middle, and look, it's a beautifully made piece of gear. And what you do, you buy these are sacrificial pieces, and these screw onto the chuck, and if you need to hold something like a PDO sleeve or something like that, you can machine this out to take it, and you expand this out, machine it, put it in, then let it back, and it'll clamp in there. Or you can machine the outside here, push the peg out in the middle, and hold something internally. So I saw it on Mark Pressling's site, and he had one on these little aero engine build, and I thought, God, that's a good thing. So anyway, I got onto them down there. I buy a bit of their stuff from time to time, you know, the diamond tool holder and other bits and pieces we've got. So yeah, so that's a nice little chuck. Yeah, it comes with all the Allen keys and all that. I do have to make it fit the lathe yet, but comes with the Allen keys. I bought all of the, there's 3 different size. That's the small one, and then you can get this, the ring comes part of it, and that's if you're turning backwards, because as you have it on a thread there, if you go turning backwards, it'll want to undo it. So you can clamp this collar down, and that'll hold it all in place. So yeah, so that's just something that happened before I went away. So, but anyway, look, that's probably the stew, apart from me sitting in the ute since Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, got home late last night. So there's 4 out of the 7 since our last stew, sitting in a ute, looking out the window. So, but look, it was good fun. It was an adventure. I'm tickled pink with some of the stuff I've got. I will show you that. And some of the test stuff that I got in the boxes, we didn't have time to dick around, and we'd pull the top off, pull a couple of bits out. Yep, don't need to see any more, chuck them in and go. But Bill had made up a plate to sit on the top of the Fergies, and where the standpipe goes, and you can bolt it, take your lift cover off on like a 35 onwards, bolt this plate on, and flow test your hydraulic pump or pressure test it and things like that with the top off. Yeah, look, those tools that these old fellas used, they've put thought into it, they've seen it somewhere. A lot of the special tools are probably for the bigger tractors, like the Massey 1100s, 1105, things like that. I've got the New Day book to tell me what goes with what. There'll be quite a bit of research going on with that. I know I've got the like the 135 lip seal installation tool, and some of the more common stuff for our hobby tractors, you know, T2035, 135, you know, 100 series and all that. Seal installers and bits and pieces. I see there's a tool there for, I think it's for putting the timing cover seal on and getting it true, but I'm not sure yet. But some of that stuff we will draw up, and so anyone wants to make their own, they can. These tractors are, some people earn their living with them, but they're a hobby for a lot of people now. So if we can work together and make things a bit cheaper and yeah, get things out there, it's all good. So look, that's it. Thanks for dropping by. There'll be a few little videos throughout the day as I pull stuff out and I want to show you. There'll be a few little add-on videos to the stew on things that have got me excited. All right, thanks for dropping by. Catch you next week. And last week I filmed the compression testing of the 65 here. I've got some figures. I'm going to use the new one this week sometime and just see how it varies, you know, if it varies compared with the Sparex one. The Sparex gauge I was using, normally a compression test gauge, as it goes up the needle goes and you undo it and it stays there. The valve in my Sparex one must be leaking and it seems to drop away. So, but anyway, we'll see how we go. I'll stop rambling, I'll go and start unpacking that bloody ute, and yeah, stay tuned. I might have a bit of show and tell coming up. See you next week, eh? Okay, well I got back late last night and I've got the ute backed up to the shed for the moment. And yeah, we had a bit of weight in there. Up front here's all the steel bits, and I've got a set of liners from my mate John Dudley, and starter motors, farm starter motors, generators, things like that. Then all this stuff here, they're new day tools, Massey Ferguson New Day tools. Now what they're all for, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I know for sure I have liner pullers. I've got the tools for putting the lip seal into the Perkinses. Now that tool there, that's a copy of the New Day tool for pulling injectors. You pop the nut off, hook that onto the injector, and away you go. But look, there's a lot of special tools. What they're for, we're not completely sure. We just bought the whole lot, and just to make life simple. Then in the back here, I'll show you inside that box later, but in the back's just full of manuals right the way across. I tried to keep them fairly even. Yeah, just to even the load and that out. They slid around a little bit, which yeah, we're trying to keep them even to stop them sliding around. But anyway, up here we got a frame. I'll come around the back of the ute here, and look at that. Have you ever seen that before? We'll talk about that a bit later, but all the rest just workshop manuals. A whole workshop full of Massey stuff. Up here we got flow meters, test benches, yeah, hydraulic fittings and all that. So it's a bit hard at the moment just to show you what it is. I'll work through it. Now when I come around, I'll show you in that box later. Now, I'll try and stay out of the shadow. Okay, Massey 765 parts book. Now the 65 we're working on, if you have a look at the tag, it says 765, 35 service manual, and this fella's here. These are all ads. I'm not sure what they were in, but we're going to find out. And it's got how to work with all these different Ferguson implements. The rabbit destruction with one man and a Ferguson. So it says up the top here, just in through here, number 9, series number 10 will appear in this journal week ending. So I'm not sure 100% about that, but we'll find out. Then over here, just a few of the bits I've tucked aside here. 188 operator's book, 188 workshop manual. And what I find particularly interesting is these are the serviceman's books that Massey Ferguson put out, and this one's for 135, 148, Mark 1, Mark 2 linkage pump hydraulic adjustments. And this fella here, that's all the adjustments and what to test and when to test it and how to set up the valves and all that. I was hoping some of these tools were there. I used to have them, but I sold them with the workshop. I was hoping some of that was in the gear, but it's not. Yeah, Justin, the fella I sold the business to, I might go and see him, see if I can copy him. Yeah, the baler books. Oh, look at this. Not a maintenance and fault finding in the Massey balers. Now, the Waira Training Centre. Now, these are the notes and the notes books that the old fella, the notes that he took while he was at schools, at the training centre. Now, for those of you down the Griffith area, Bill Hare was the Massey bloke. Apparently down southwestern New South Wales, he made his living, same as I did, field service. And I got into parts later along, but yeah, I did like 43 years on the spanners. Well, his young fella Jason was telling me that the old fella started his apprenticeship at 14 and he's 84 now, and they're just trying to clear out his stuff. He got some old mates down there that he's done tractors up with over time. They've got some of the tractors and bits and pieces, but yeah, look, I was just very pleased to be invited down to, yeah, to put all this stuff to good use. And the family, lovely family, and yeah, they were pleased to see them actually come to a place where they'll get used and read, and I'm going to scan quite a few things. But yeah, that's just a quick walk around. As we get things apart, or as I pull books apart, I might take a few happy snaps. But all these handwritten notes, I'm going to be all over them just to see, yeah, just to see what they all talk about. So there you go. I'll keep pulling stuff out, and I'll try and keep you informed as we go. Well, this here is the magnetomagnetizer. Now, you can see the info there, Fitzpatrick, F. Fitzpatrick and Co. No, 28, Carolyn Street, Westmead, New South Wales. Phone YL 6928. I don't know how old that is, but volts 6 to 12, amps 60. Place magnet on pole pieces, north to south and south to north. Press switch 4 times. And yeah, look, they've played with this. They've done a couple of Maggies down there. He hadn't told anyone he had this. He said, "You're the only person I've ever showed that. Do you want to buy it?" And I said, "Yeah, all right." So the original, I'll just undo the, now that lead wouldn't be an original one. Yeah, this one here, that one there is. So yeah, you just sit that on. So anyway, they reckon it works okay. He said he's had a couple of tractor magnetos, and yeah, they weren't doing particularly well, and he's banged them on here, and he reckons you can definitely feel the extra magnetic flux there. And yeah, she goes all right. This wire, I don't know who put the wire on. It's been there a long time. Yeah, it's got the cloth tape on it, but to take 60 amps it might have to be that thick. I thought back then it may have had like a material outer on the wires, so it may have had new wires chucked on it, but anyway, it doesn't matter as long as it works. Okay, this here is a Vane Model 140 diesel compression test gauge, made in Sydney, Australia. It's got all the goodies with it. Like, the old fella must have valued it. He kept it in the box and kept the gauge wrapped in that piece of rag in the box, and you can see it's just like new. The boxes, I'll keep that in frame there. So the box is in good nick. So yeah, that's a nice little thing to have. Yeah, it's probably better quality than anything else we have. So yeah, for what I do, that'll fit into the shed nicely. Okay, we'll have a quick walk around. I've had time this morning to unpack a few things. Yeah, Australian parts, supplements. When we come over, we've got all the school notes and that for the Fergie hydraulics. Yeah, tests and procedures, operators books, all your 200 series, 500 series workshop manuals with all the 200 series transmission arrangements. That book there came with it. Then when we come around, pardon me, that pile there is just school notes. This pile here is service manuals that I haven't got tucked away. The middle pile there, the smaller one, that's just service bulletins. There's 3 or 4 David Brown manuals. Now, I bought them specially. You'll find out about them one day probably. Now, that's the parts books. Now, some of the operators books for tractors, and some of this stuff down here, like MF1 post hole digger instruction books, MF501 post hole digger. Now these books at the back there, they're just combines. This is just operators books for different implements and things. That's Perkins books. I particularly bought them I didn't have a 4203 book for the Perkins for the 65, and we've got the L4 plus other ones there. Then repair time schedules, I've never been that interested in them. Usually the companies, yeah, had you that tight that you couldn't do it in a fit. But yeah, with the parts books, like that's a Massey 135, and there's Massey 590, 130 cultivator. Yeah, there's a lot of parts books. That'll be interesting information. Now, over here, look at this. I was excited to buy this thing. So that's a genuine CAV injector tester. Got the proper CAV tag there, and then perhaps I can turn it around. Got the CAV in there. A bit hard to see. I need to come around the other way with it, so I'm not facing the camera into the door. So, and the old fella, he's put it on a big hunk of C-section. Now, the C-section, it's nice and heavy, and he's drilled and tapped in the back there to put a couple of bolts there. They've got a bit of a bend in them. This here is just an injector off the 65 I put in, just to show you that, you know, you put them, hold it in there when you undo the nozzle and replace nozzles and things. Now this little gauge here, that goes in the side window of an injection pump. When you're trying to line up the particular letter or line with the line, you pump it up on number 1 and away you go. But yeah, my injector tester hasn't been all that good, so I was pleased to get a good one. Now, I'll just shift these rags. That's all these tools and injection pipes that go with it, and CAV lapping paste. And what he did, I'll just put some of that in there, and he'd made it so when he travelled, and he didn't have an injector up its clacker, when he travelled, that sat there. This lever came out. I'll see if I can. The lever came out, went in the drawer. I'll just shift that for the moment. And this tin of pipes, did it go there or there? It was in here somewhere. I think it must have gone under the back there. There we go. It sat under there, and that went down there. Then I'll see if I can do this with one hand. Oh, hang on a second. Okay, that's a rough idea. So when he travelled out onto the farm and he had to take the injector tester, he had that all buttoned up so the weather couldn't get to it or anything like that. And like these things, they sat in with the catches. So yeah, if you had to travel with it, the drawers couldn't slide out, nothing could get wet, and away you went. Then got to the job and you just had to pop that off, and you had everything you needed. And there you are, ready to do someone's injectors anyway. So yeah, that's a good thing. Okay, this is the first test kit, and it's the proper New Day, Massey Ferguson New Day kit. I can find it in the book. Now, it has the flow meter down inside here. The flow meter plugs up into here, and they took the batteries out so it wasn't something going wrong. You have a couple of potentiometers there to fiddle with. So you select the pressure you need, I think. Then you have your main pressure gauge. This main pressure gauge, when you turn the flow meter off and raise the pressure to say 2,000 pound on this gauge, that's when you read the flow up here. Now, some of these other gauges there, they're for the closed centre pressure and flow compensating pumps like Vickers. You can read sensing line 1, colour of hose blue. Well, they've lost the colour, but so you've got 5 gauges sitting there, and with this box of stuff came that box of fittings, and when I come back you can see it's on a handy dandy little cart. Now we have to replace these hoses, we're aware of that. The photos they sent through, we knew what we were doing there, we knew what we were up to. So that there has the fittings in it. Then pardon me, then here's the second one. Now you'll notice that the flow meter's missing from this one, but there's a lot of hoses and test fittings. Now this UCC flow meter was in that box, so with that box, this looks like it may have been used for parts a bit, like it needs a bit of work, but I'm going to do this up. I don't know if I can get a flow meter for it, but if not, we'll use this other one. Then there's the plate that you bolt onto the front of your Fergie, and you flow test your pump. Just a few blanking caps and gauges, bits and pieces, and all the fittings and special pipes he's made up, and all these sort of test pipes and things like that. So at this stage there's looks like a couple of stand pipes. There's a couple of different lengths of stand pipes, so whether they're, I imagine on your test kit you would have the, no, they look about the same, both of them. So yeah, all that, and there's tins of tins of hydraulic fittings and brackets and bits and pieces. So I'm sure if you sat down with him and had a look at some of this stuff, he'd say, oh, that pipe there went here, and I made that up for that, and all that sort of thing. So yeah, so it's all interesting to me. Like that's a plate that they've made for something. I have no idea what, 3 bolt holes, who knows. And there's another plate. That hasn't got a thread in it. Perhaps they're going to thread it. But yeah, all these different pipes and things, there'll be a job for them. So I've got a little bit of work tidying some of this stuff up, which look, I'm happy with that. I believe some of this gear come out in the Massey 240s, 2406, 2460s and things like that, I think. As with a lot of the school notes and things like that. So yeah, I've just got them in piles then for the moment, and with those piles, then I'll have to work through each pile again as I get to it and work out what I need. With I was pleased to see the full workshop manuals for 200 series, 500 series, etc. And what was I looking at here just before? Oh, your 200 series tractor rear linkage system, static and running adjustments. So it goes through what adjustment to do and when and all that sort of thing. So that will be interesting. So yeah, like a bloody kid in a candy store at the moment. Looks like I've got 3 675 parts books, but that's okay. The Australian supplement. There's the New Day Special Service Tools book, and that's where I found that test kit. And then under that, this Churchill book, or Litchfield book I mean. Now, I have seen some of these parts in my ute, so I'm going to have to sit down with them and actually work out what number it is and put a little mark there just so I know what I have. So there you go. That's so far. Oh, that's Massey Ferguson news, and these are new tractor brochures. 3600 series and the 8400, the Massey 240. Oh, actually, I'll have a look at that. I was wondering, did it say where it was printed, but Massey Ferguson Limited, export English. So this is the export edition of the tractor. So anyway, we'll get into that down the track a little bit. Yeah, I just thought I'd take a break and just show this injector test. I reckon she's a cracker. I was very pleased to have it offered to me. Okay, here's some of the special tools. I don't know what those brackets there are. That plate in the centre of the screen there, I think that would be for pressing something, a clutch plate. Now, this tool over there, I've had that for a while. I never knew what it was. I see it in the book. It's for setting the preload on the 100 series final drives. So we'll get to that. Just bits and pieces. I don't know what a lot of it is. I do know, like, we've got seal installing tools there. That fellow there, that's for putting a rear seal in a 3-cylinder Perkins. Some clutch aligning tools, different sleeve pullers, yeah, different little pullers and bits and bobs. But yeah, I don't know what an awful lot of it does as yet, but I will be going in the book. I've seen that spanner there. I've seen that in the book. And this here, that's obviously for sitting over the end of a crankshaft or something and sliding a seal on. But I've got a couple of books, so I'm actually going to try and I'm going to sit down and try and work out what's what, just so I can mark it up and let it know. That fellow there looks fairly specialised. But yeah, there'll be some homemade stuff. Oh, this fellow here, that's the Massey Ferguson clutch finger height tool with one leg missing off it. So we have a leg there to copy off, this fella. So we can probably get that back going and measure him up. But yeah, who knows? I'll just have to sit down and anything with a number. I have the new day in the Litchfield book, so anything with numbers on it, I'll try and work out what it is and mark it up with a bit of paint pen, something like that. Okay, that's it. I'll just slide back on Kelly's old chair and yeah, now I've got to work out what to do with all this bloody stuff. Another problem.